Please welcome to the stage, Mitchell L. Hedberg.
They say comedy is tragedy that happens to other people.
Financially, I'm set for life if I'm shot tomorrow.
With his offbeat delivery and rock star charisma, Mitch Hedberg earned a cult following and the admiration of the comedy world.
There's a certain delight he had on stage and a certain kind of a warmth that would draw people into his world.
One time a guy handed me a picture of me and said, here's a picture of me when I was younger. Every picture is of you when you were younger.
Hedberg's innovative onstage persona brought him to the doorstep of fame.
That's where he believed his happiness would come from. Stardom. He was seduced by that.
But ultimately, his drive to succeed took him over the edge.
I used to do drugs. I still do, but I used to too.
Raised in St. Paul, Minnesota, Mitch's first audience was his family.
Humor was a huge part of our family. So much of it was observational humor, but I think most of his humor came from himself.
He would come in with a fishbowl on his head and tell me, pretend I was born with a fishbowl on my head. And, and then he'd say, nobody wants to date me, I wonder why.
He would put on shows up in the second level of the garage. He would invite all the neighbors, and sometimes we weren't aware of it until people started streaming into our yard.
As soon as he turned 18, Mitch took off to pursue a career in show business.
His life at home at the time wasn't really going anywhere, and he was looking for an escape.
I was at work, and our older daughter called and said that she thinks Mitch is leaving. We came home, but by the time we got there, he was gone, and I was devastated.
He would do exactly what he wanted to do and not say anything about it, just proceed right along that path that he wanted to go.
I love doing comedy. I'm pretty funny. I've been a funny guy for quite a while now. The kids remember me as just a funny guy from high school.
The first couple years is hard for Mitch because in the early 90s, the audience wasn't really ready for his style of comedy.
I wrote him in letters, it's okay to do that stuff, but have a job you can rely on. Of course, I was wrong. That's not how you treat comedy. You got to go at it full force or get out of there.
At times, Mitch lived out of his car while honing his routine and building a reputation at comedy clubs across the country.
He was already this cult comedian on the rise, kind of the comedian's comedian at that time.
And in the studio, ladies and gentlemen, Chart Hogan. Hi. And Mitchell, right?
Yes, sir. That's correct, Mitchell.
The unique thing about Mitch is that he didn't do a lot of typical setup type, jokes.
It was just so much different than anything anyone was doing or is doing today.
Here was a guy standing on stage with his eyes closed, just kind of doing this, thoughts, basically, that were like hilarious and so out there. And as a comic, you kind of always know where the joke's going, With his stuff, it blew me away.
A good comic says funny things, and a great comic says things funny. And that's what Mitch did. He said things funny.
When someone tries to hand me out a flyer, it's kind of like they're saying, here, you throw this away.
Hedberg's act soon landed him top billing. At the 1998 Montreal Comedy Festival, Mitch wowed the crowd, including fellow performer Lynn Shawcroft.
We did a show together, and we just started hanging out. And I remember falling in love with his comedy and just loving him right away. And we got married right after that.
Mitch was on a roll. He got the girl, and as an encore, booked the ultimate stand-up gig.
His first Letterman is the best one I've ever seen. Every one of his jokes just pops.
I think animal crackers make people think that all animals taste the same.
I know Letterman wanted him back right away, and that in comedy is a big deal.
He built a following and ended up selling out theaters.
That took a long time for people to come around to him, and him just going, I'll wait it out, I know what I'm doing.
By the end of 1998, Mitch landed a $500,000 TV deal with Fox and started his own special for Comedy Central. He was even dubbed the next Seinfeld by Time magazine.
They say, all right, you're a stand-up comedian. Can you act? Can you write? Write us a script. that's not fair. It's as though if I was a cook and I worked my ass off to become a good cook. They said, all right, you're a cook. Can you farm?
When his own sitcom didn't materialize, Hedberg went back to touring and the party lifestyle that went with it.
First time we're drinking beer driving.
He loved the road. The road, like, kind of is an addiction in a way.
We were in Kansas City and Oklahoma City and Provo, Utah.
Mitch was also attracted to the idea of altering his mind, you know what I mean? Like not always looking at things in the same way.
He had said, if I ever become famous, or if I ever have the opportunity, I'm going to do every drug that there is to do because I want to experience everything in life.
I just know that sometime during that tour, he had started a downward spiral.
Comedian Mitch Hedberg was destined to become a superstar.
I got a king-size bed. I don't know any kings, but if one came over, I guess you'd be comfortable.
He was rock and roll comedy. It went where it went. It was balls out, and it might go horribly south, and it might go awry, and those were the best shows in the world.
In music, there's always chicks around and everything, you know, and like, it's always fun and everything, and comedy's not really like that. But with Mitch, it was. It was like a rock and roll show was coming to town.
But living on the edge cut both ways.
Through the grapevine, you heard stories about him having troubles.
Unfortunately, Mitch was using drugs more extensively than what we were aware of.
And it's not like any attempts weren't made to deal with it. It was always like Mitch going, Lynn, I swear to God, when we finish this, you know, we'll take care of it.
I just go, look, I care about you, I love you, I'm worried about you. I don't, and I would say, I don't want you to die. And he'd say, I'm not gonna die, I'm not gonna die.
Mitch's thing is like, this isn't gonna destroy me. I gotta keep on rolling, I gotta keep on rolling. I've got this goal, I've got these dreams.
I saw him did a set, a 10-minute set at an 8 o'clock show. He just destroyed the crowd. You know, the crowd would just go nuts. And then in the midnight show, he showed up and he was totally out of it. And it broke my heart.
The drug of choice was heroin, and it had a deadly grip.
Having to maintain heroin and traveling and doing 300 nights a week on the road is not the easiest thing in the world.
Things got even tougher for Mitch while passing through Austin, Texas.
So we're at the airport. So then, whose bag is this? Mitch goes, it's mine. Okay, there's drug paraphernalia in here.
Police searched Mitch for drugs and found something much more disturbing.
He was using needles in his leg and it became infected.
They're processing him into the jail, and they saw this injury, and they were like, whoa, you can't be here with that.
Doctors in Austin wanted to amputate. Family and friends sought a second opinion.
We took him to Houston. The doctors right off the bat said, we don't do that Civil War stuff here in Houston.
It was 13 hours of surgery. They took muscle out of his back and transferred it to his leg.
They thought it was a long shot, but that maybe they could save his leg, and they did.
We weren't taking care of our life and our health. And it was like in a weird, tragic way. Phew, here's a breather.
After his surgery, Mitch recovered for 6 months, then went back to the tour circuit and his old habits.
Both Dave and I got on the phone to the agents and the manager. Are you sure you're doing this is the right thing?
Almost losing your leg, I'd say, would be the ultimate. Like, we've all woken up next to a goat, you know, whatever. That, like, I gotta quit drinking. But this guy, you know, the fact that he, you know, kept going after that, you knew that it was like his thing, you know. It was intense.
Heroin becomes like something you have to do to even move. You need it to just like work, you know what I mean? So it keeps going and it's crazy.
Get on a plane, fly somewhere, do the show, hang out a bit, wake up, get on a plane, do a show, hang out a bit. So we're on like 4 or 5 planes a weekend.
I just know that sometime during that tour, he had started a downward spiral.
The problem with these people who are in Mitch's situation is that if they're doing their job and they're selling tickets, then it's really hard to tell them in their mind that, like, listen, you're out of control.
If you're making money for someone, the people don't want that to end. People will feed your problems as long as you're feeding them money.
The more people would be like, Mitch, you're up. He's like, well, I'm selling out.
It's okay, Mom. You know, it's okay, I can take care of it. We fell for his line of baloney all the time.
And it was a really flawed sense of logic. It's not dealing with the problem with heroin.
He said, you know, Chad, I'm going to be like the Jim Morrison of comedy. And I laughed. I said, what do you mean by that? And he said, well, look at Jim's life, you know. Just, I'd rather die young. I don't want to like just be hanging on forever.
The whole irony is there was always this image attached to it all, and then look what happened. You know what I mean? It's like prophecy fulfilled in a weird way.
This morning, we've learned a popular comic from St. Paul has passed away. Mitch Hedberg died in a hotel room in New Jersey on Wednesday.
There was some Valium, and we were like laying in bed, just hanging out, and then I went to the bathroom, and I was just in the bathroom for a while, you know, and then I came out and he didn't look right, so I just called him, you know. It's like he had his eyes closed, so it looked like he was sleeping, you know. And I could just tell something was wrong.
It was a horrible day. I can't even explain how horrible it was. And I'll never ever forget anything that happened in those few moments in my life. I'll never forget him.
He died of a massive heart attack caused by drug abuse.
When I heard that, it really just like kind of broke my heart. It was shocking.
I cherish every minute that we spent together.
I miss him a lot, yeah, I do.
Losing a child is the most devastating thing that a parent could ever face.
I wish he was still here, no doubt. But we go on without him.
We thought that if we were too confrontational, we were going to lose him. How ridiculous. We lost him completely.
Creativity, comedy are not worth dying for.
You know what, man? I'm sick of following my dreams. I'm just gonna ask where they're going and hook up with them later.